I loved that song. I'm mad we don't have it on our video.
Oh, that's okay. I am destined to be in the old movie theaters doing the intro music, like just vocally, like da 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 da.
Just like that.
Exactly. That would be my dream job. Just to
shout at people.
ad-lib movie intros. It would be great.
Just like a movie scatter.
Yeah, well, kind of like where you go and they have the organ play all the music, except it would just be Mitch.
Just Mitch and a low microphone.
Yeah, and I'd have like a glass of water that's like this tall, sitting on a stool next to me.
So you want your own comedy special?
Yeah. I guess that's what it would end up being. Yeah.
Welcome back to Quarantine. I'm Amy. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am dressed like an elf today.
I'm Mitch. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm dressed like a Mitch. This is my favorite everyday sweater for the month of December.
You're not going to talk about how your mother got so mad at you for wearing it in public?
Yes. So last year at our holiday all staff, I literally spent the entire day walking around showing everyone the sleeves because I love that the cuffs are 2 different colors and they're red and green. And my mom was mortified because we went to a really nice restaurant last year because it was pre-COVID and I wore this. And she couldn't believe I was wearing it in public, so I'm going to wear it for the internet.
We didn't plan to have me dress like an elf for this video. I'm dressing as an elf for pictures with Santa. And so I was testing this onesie out to see how well it fits because we got a super big size so that I could wear clothes underneath it. And then Sarah had to sew it up and cinch it so that, it wasn't 8 feet taller than I am because it was. And then we figured...
Buddy the elf was very tall. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Will Ferrell's 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I showed up in a Christmas sweater, so I kind of put her on the spot. I was like, we're going to be festive, because today we're going to talk about our favorite thing of this time of year, which is holiday specials, but specifically LGBTQ inclusive ones.
Before we do that, can we maybe part the Red Sea so we can also show off my dog who's dressed as an elf?
If I go this way, can you see it? That's his butt.
Isn't he so cute? They're little elf pajamas.
Lennox is right next to me, and he's wearing a snowman sweater, which is also very fresh.
Can we show?
He's just checking.
This is what happens when I... Oh my goodness. It's been a hot minute since we recorded a video for you all, and it shows.
And to go with the festive theme, the laptop is actually propped up on 4 spools of Christmas ribbon. So we're just really, in the spirit today.
We're in the spirit and we're also just out of our minds. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. We have been talking about how difficult it can be to find good holiday representation. Good representation in general in the media, but specifically at the holidays, it seems like that's when the representation really dips. Mm-hmm. And so Mitch and I wanted to talk today about just a few movies we've seen or shows that we've seen that are really heartwarming and don't fall into those dangerous LGBTQ tropes. So we'll talk about those and then we'll tell you where you can find them. And then if you have any things that you like to watch or that you got really excited about this year, let us know. So I'll start. One of the ones that Sarah and I just watched is called Let It Snow. And so that's based on a young adult novel. I know John Green wrote in it. There are a bunch of authors that wrote for it. I can't remember who it was. But it's a really cute young adult movie. It's about all these different teens who none of them are really connected to each other, but then throughout the movie all these things happen and they end up becoming connected at the very end somehow. It's really cute, and there is an LGBTQ storyline in there that kind of talks about some of the harder things that people go through on their identity journeys. So that was the first one I could recommend. It was really cute. The girl who played Sabrina in the Netflix series Sabrina, she's in it. Kiernan something. I don't remember her last name. And then pretty positive that Joan Cusack is the one who's playing the lady with the tinfoil. Yeah. So, like, it's got a pretty decent staff. Oh, my goodness. It has a decent cast. Thank you.
I got you.
It's really hard to get out of my social work brain.
It's really, like, one of those fun ones where there are all those different storylines. And so it really keeps you interested in wanting to find out what happens in each different scenario.
Yeah. And I haven't read the book, so I can't really speak to the book, but it is out there if you prefer books to movies.
Yeah. A big one that has been getting a lot of talk and a lot of hype. So this year is actually the first year that I've ever watched a Hallmark Christmas movie. Like, I didn't have cable television growing up, and I have just seen bits and pieces of them, but I've never, like, sat down and watched one on the Hallmark Channel until this year. But
I am offended that we have been friends for over a year, and you've never...
I've seen a bunch now, so I'm making up for last time.
Unacceptable! We've been friends for over a year. You know how I feel about Hallmark movies.
I know.
You know I have access to Hallmark movies.
Well, now we're good.
I feel like I've met an entirely different person.
Listen, I'm learning and growing, and that's what matters, Amy. So
sometimes growing means reaching out for help, Mitch.
You're right. Well, we will have to have a Christmas year-round marathon. But so we have the app on our Roku for the Hallmark Channel, and so it's pretty much going 24/7 at this point with whatever movies they're showing. And I love that there's, that specific formula that Hallmark uses for the plot.
It's so cozy.
Yeah, it's so cozy. But so we were really excited because this year Hallmark came out, pun not intended, with the first ever movie that really, like, purposely featured a gay couple. And it's called The Christmas House. And so I've watched that a couple times now, and it is really cute. It's really cozy. What I didn't love about it is that the gay couple storyline kind of gets overtaken by the straight couple's storyline, because it's two brothers and their relationships and them coming home to their parents' home, which is the Christmas house. But at the same time, to have, a gay character who, like, this is their experience, like, they're waiting on finding out about the adoption of their first child while they're helping decorate for the holidays and do all this stuff at home, it did a really good job of normalizing that and showing that it's just like every other relationship. And so even though I wish the whole thing could have been just focused on the two of them, I liked the way it showed that the three couples, really, because the parents as well, like, it's all the same conversations. It's all the same kind of thing. There's no real difference to being gay, other than facing different challenges and different struggles. But it really did a good job, I thought, of normalizing that experience.
I love that. And, I mean, Hallmark is probably, to be honest, like, easing people into that. I know there had been a lot of backlash at first, so they had scrapped them, and then they had a ton of backlash because they had scrapped the only LGBTQ movies that they had ever even made. So my guess is that Hallmark is probably trying to, like, ease people in.
Yeah.
Which
they caught a lot of heat for a commercial last year. But, what I found really interesting is it's not the first time they've had queer characters, because there's another movie, and I can't think of it right now, where there's a whole side plot of the main character's best friend falling in love with the girl who works at the coffee shop, and they end up together, and they both love the same poetry, and it's super cute and super perfect, and I liked that better than The Christmas House.
Well, and there's another movie that the Hallmark put out. It's called Four Weddings, and so it's this straight couple that, like, it's a guy and a girl, and they keep coming together at all these different weddings for different reasons, but one of the weddings is a same-sex wedding. And the characters, like, they actually show the characters kiss on screen, and, like, so we're getting there. We're getting there, Hallmark.
And it's definitely, like, I really want to praise it, because it's so much more than, Like, I remember when I was a teenager and I was growing up and I was looking for any kind of representation on TV at all, and all I had was Glee. And Glee is awful. It's so bad.
And at the time it seemed so revolutionary, but now you go back and watch it and you're like, this is every single trope and stereotype you could have ever shoved into one show.
And so to, like, actually be like, hey, these are people living their normal lives. Mm-hmm. And also they have same-sex partners.
Although I will say Glee had some pretty good songs.
Glee did have some pretty good songs.
But yeah, I love that.
Quick side note. Did you know that NBC is doing a live musical version of The Grinch? That's going to show, I think, tonight.
No.
Do you know who's playing The Grinch?
No.
Matthew Morrison. Yeah. That's how I feel, too. These are strange times. Very strange times.
Nothing about this year makes sense.
Nope. I'm just wondering when they filmed it, because it had to be in advance.
You can't see the way my lip has curled up in distaste under my mask, but it is there.
But you can feel the aura of it. No, like, seriously, Google the makeup. Like, Google Matthew Morrison Grinch, and you'll see why my eyebrows made that shape.
Let me see.
It's pretty... I mean, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to give it a chance. Like, I'd love that story no matter what, but... And Max is played by a person, which I guess that makes sense because it's a stage show. Yeah. Isn't that bananas?
So, this is what we're seeing right now. It's...
If you watch the Macy's chiseled? Parade, on the Macy's Parade, I think they did a preview of it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yep.
Here's some more.
Speaking of Glee, had to drop that piece of knowledge on you.
Okay, well, so to get out of this discomfortville that we're in right now, the next thing I want to recommend is called Happiest Season.
Yes.
There's been a ton of buzz about this because it has a pretty big cast.
All-star cast, absolutely.
Kristen Stewart is in it, who is best known for her role in Twilight, but she's also known for having recently, within the last couple of years, come out very publicly.
Kristen Stewart did not slay the role of Joan Jett in The Runaways to be remembered for Twilight, but continue.
How many people do you think would know her from Joan Jett versus Twilight?
In the LGBTQ community, I think quite a few.
That's fair.
Yeah.
She crushed Joan Jett.
She crushed Joan Jett.
She was also in Into the Wild. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, she played... Do you remember when Emile Hirsch's character is at this trailer and there's like a 15-year-old girl who's hanging out inside?
Mm-hmm.
That was her.
No way.
Yeah.
She was also in Speak.
Yep.
I think that was one of her first roles.
Yeah. The Laurie Halse Anderson book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's in Happiest Season. And then Dan Levy, who is pretty famous now for creating the show Schitt's Creek, is also in it. And anything this man touches turns to gold.
So Amy watched it before me, and the text that I got about it from Amy was that everything Dan Levy touches turns to gold. And then I watched it, and, like, Dan Levy is, to me, like, Clarence. And I know you hate It's a Wonderful Life. But, like, he's the no-nonsense, like, this is what you actually need to do character, and it's delicious.
Well, and so... Part of the reason I ended up loving this movie as much as I do, except beside the fact that I love Kristen Stewart, is the fact that there's this beautiful scene when he's talking with Kristen Stewart's character about what it's like for people when they're coming out and how everybody's journey is different, and that like there's the moment before you come out, and then there's the moment when you do come out, and then the moment right after you come out. And it's just like, I have goosebumps talking about it right now. It was
awesome.
So incredibly beautiful, and I don't think I've ever seen someone talk about it so perfectly. So bear in mind that it is rated R. There's nothing salacious in it, but there are a few scenes that deserve that rating. So if you're younger, don't watch it without explicit permission from your parents. But it's a great movie, and I think it really touched beautifully on a lot of different things that people go through. I didn't personally prefer the ending that happened, but I am okay with the fact that it is how it ended because I think it was a nice button.
It goes along with kind of the Hallmark movie structure while being
a little more real.
A little bit more real. And I think it's that realness that earned it the R rating, which Amy and I have talked a lot on here about how movie ratings have historically been rooted in homophobia. And I could talk about that all day. But there are a couple moments that are just a little bit maybe not appropriate for younger viewers, and I can certainly understand wanting to make that choice.
Yeah.
I recommend that parents, if you want to watch it with your kids, you can pre-screen it so you know, and then you can answer any questions, or you can fast forward through those parts because modern technology is wonderful. That's what's nice about home streaming, as opposed to going to the theater.
Yeah, so it plays on Hulu. It was so good.
Mm-hmm. It definitely, like, so many of these stories that are now being told touch on, like, the really painful, like, there are parts of it where you just shrink into yourself because you can't believe, like, the secondhand, like, awkwardness
like
of watching certain conversations
or
happen.
Just the, like, oh my gosh, I feel so badly for her, and, like...
But that is... I think it's important that we recognize that is part of a lot of people's experiences, kind of like what Dan Levy touches on about how everyone's experience is different. So just, be prepared going into it that it's one of those ones where people are kind of learning how to approach certain topics, and it's a little difficult.
My plan over the next, so I'm taking the week of Christmas off. And I'm planning on just diving deep into anything Dan Levy has ever done because his work is just it's so profound, and he talks about how when he came out to his mom and how his mom has sort of come back now and was like, I didn't respond the way I really wanted to then. Now I'm responding how I feel truly. And so he talks a lot about that. And if you've seen the show that he and his father, Eugene Levy, created, that's also, there's a lot of coarse language and, some more adult themes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when we're saying it's SCHITT, which is, right there is just a play
it's
on.
The name of the town, so.
Yep. But, so it's so good. And,
so good.
Especially in the later seasons, you're like, this gets real.
I watched that while I was quarantined.
It's
so good.
It's so good.
So, actually kind of touching on a very similar theme. We all know I love Dolly Parton. That is not a mystery to anybody. I actually just made a Dolly Parton angel to go on the top of my Christmas tree, so that we could all have a holly dolly Christmas.
I'm going to pull that up.
She also just dropped a brand new Christmas album that is excellent, mind you. And she has a new movie on Netflix called Christmas on the Square. That's like a Christmas Carol, but the Scroogey character is Christine Baranski. And it was a stage musical that they just filmed instead, and it's excellent. But that's not what I want to talk about. But
this is Dolly Parton as the Christmas topper. She's
beautiful. My dad saw it and was like, she's not that tall, right? And I was like, she's allowed to be. She's standing on a ladder under that skirt. It's fine. But, so, I think it was last year, her series, Heartstrings, came out. And Heartstrings is kind of an anthology in that each episode is about an hour and a half. And the plots are based on the lyrics of her songs. And so the second episode is called Two Doors Down. And Two Doors Down is the basis for the story. But what it is there's a guy who's coming to his sister's wedding that his mom has gone all bananas about planning because she always wanted a fancy wedding and didn't have one when the sister doesn't really want that. And he's still closeted, but his partner works for his mom and is like her stylist and everything. And it takes place in Georgia. And, very traditional, like, Georgia society, like, values are kind of what the mom leans on. And she's super dramatic and super over the top. And, like, this secret of the fact that the two men are together, like, is starting to come out, and it's just like this whole super convoluted like series of errors surrounding this wedding, which is a New Year's Eve wedding. So it's kind of more like a New Year's Eve movie.
Still holidays. But
there's Christmas trees everywhere, so I count it and I include it. What I really, really love about this movie is, so the mom's sister Gloria has a child named Ren who identifies as non-binary, and so Ren is going to be a bridesmaid in the wedding, and they actually make them a suit jacket out of the same fabric as the bridesmaids' dresses.
Oh, I love that.
For the wedding, and they, they come and they have hair just like mine, and the character who's gay, who hasn't told his mom yet, is kind of like, he says something about how over the top Ren is and how that's not going to help his mom come to his side of the rainbow. But, like, they end up having a heart-to-heart and a conversation, and he ends up apologizing, and his partner teaches his mom that the gender-neutral term for a niece or nephew is a nibbling, and that Ren is a bridesmaid, and you actually see the mom correct someone else after she has been corrected. And the mom is super dramatic, like I said, super campy, super over the top. And the whole, 2 doors down is they're having a party, they're celebrating on New Year's Eve this wedding, and the mom ends up not attending, but then Dolly Parton shows up because she appears in every single episode of her series.
As she should.
As she should. And she's not always herself, but in that one she is. And she's there to help them count down to the new year. And I'm not going to say any more than that because I've kind of touched on a lot of major points, and I want people to be able to enjoy the show. But it's so awesome. You're going to cry a lot. But it all resolves in that beautiful, wonderful way that a lot of these movies do. And I love it. I rewatched it last night so that I could make sure that I got all of the details right.
Where does it stream?
So that is on Netflix. And so you look up Heartstrings and it'll pop up. And like I said, it's the second episode titled 2 Doors Down. Well,
and Dolly Parton's incredible anyway. She has that literacy program that sends books to children under 5 all over the country, and she's done a ton of fundraising and advocacy for people during the COVID issues, and she's just an absolutely incredible force to be reckoned with.
Cameron, promised me that when COVID times are over, I really want to go to Dollywood, just so bad. So we'll get there.
Yeah. Do you have any other recommendations for media?
The last one that I just always mention, my favorite from childhood, is called Olive the Other Reindeer. Olive, Olive. And it's about a little puppy dog that hears Santa, who's having trouble because one of the reindeer isn't going to be able to fly, on the radio say that he's going to have to turn to Olive the Other Reindeer. And she thinks he says Olive the Other Reindeer, and so she must be a reindeer. So she travels to the North Pole to go help Santa fly his sleigh. And it's a children's book. It's a beautiful book. And it was given to me by my Aunt Nancy, who I love so much. And I still have my copy of it, and I gave my niece a copy of it when she was 3. But Matt Groening from The Simpsons actually made an animated special of it. And I think it's aired maybe twice ever. I have it on DVD. But it's just super funky. It's not specifically LGBT, but it's super funky. And it's about someone who is not typically who you would think coming to save the day, saving the day. And it's just silly and cute. And the art is super fun. And I just love it. So that, I'm not sure. Let's do a Google of where you can stream it.
So in the interest of also maintaining the nostalgia recommendation, one of my recommendations is The Mrs. Claus. It is one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it with my grandma all the time. And we only had it on VHS tape, so I brought it to a service to get turned into a DVD. so that we could make sure we had it to play still, because we don't have VHS players anymore.
Right.
And I think it's streaming on one of the Hallmark channels now, but Angela Lansbury plays Mrs. Santa Claus.
Ooh.
And Mrs. Santa Claus is like, I'm over this. I'm taking the reindeer out for a trip. Like, I'm sick of sitting around here. And I also want to have some adventures, but then the reindeer get hurt. So she gets, like, stranded in New York City in, like, the 20s, like, during the women's rights stuff. And she, like, marches with the suffragettes, and she, like, goes on these crazy adventures, and she becomes this, like, really strong, independent woman, and, like,
awesome.
rises above people, and, like, it's so, and it's a musical.
Both of these tell you just about everything you need to know about who we were as kids.
Did you know that my favorite song as a child was Are You Strong Enough to Be My Man? By Sheryl Crow.
I did not, but that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense.
I used to sit in young enough that I was still in, like, a booster seat or a car seat in the back seat of my mom's car, and she would come back to the car after, like, I don't know, she would buckle me in, and then she'd go pay the babysitter and come back in, and I would just be sitting there belting out the lyrics to Are You Strong Enough to Be My Man, which I really think says a lot about who I've turned into.
See, what's hilarious is mine was Phil Collins' Son of Man from the Tarzan movie, because I loved Tarzan, which literally the chorus is, Son of Man, a man in time you'll be. So, talk about prophetic.
So, this is just like a few. Obviously, there's so much more media out there that can be consumed. We didn't even touch on books or anything like that, but...
oh, Mary Lambert just dropped a Christmas album.
Oh,
too.
Good to know.
Speaking of holiday media. So that's music. But yeah, there's so much.
Yeah.
And people are creating more and more. A ton of independent creators, too, I know, have seen the lack of representation and done some stuff. So you just kind of have to dig for it.
Yeah, but it's there. So if you find anything that you want to share with us, or if we missed anything that you think we should talk about, let us know. We'll be back next week. Probably not dressed as Buddy the Elf. This was a very last minute decision.
Are you going to ask me what my favorite color is?
What is your favorite color, Mitch?
It's blue. Thanks. What's your favorite color, Amy?
That was so aggressive. It's blue. Thanks. Sorry I asked. My favorite color is probably a tri-way tie between purple and turquoise and black.
I love that. I love that for you.
Thank you. It's very mysterious. Although if you ask Sarah, I'm not mysterious. I'm just intriguing.
Interesting distinction. Anyway, have a wonderful week. We will see you next week, and try to do something fun for yourself while you are staying home and staying safe.
Yeah. Let us know if you find any other good things to watch.
Bye.
Bye.